We've got shockingly good news coming out of the United States Supreme Court, which of course is dominated with conservative Supreme Court justices. This time, Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett, of all people, basically rejected a call from a conservative group representing taxpayers to essentially do away with Joe Biden's executive action on student loan debt relief. Now, here it is, Reuters reports that Justice Amy Coney Barrett declined to block President Biden's plan to cancel billions of dollars in student debt in a challenge to the policy's legality by a Wisconsin taxpayers organization represented by a conservative legal group. Now, this is good news, but there is a little bit of a twist at the end, so stay tuned for that. First, let me give you a little bit of context on what's transpiring with this conservative group and why they got slapped down by a federal judge and now by Justice Amy Coney Barrett. Now, she declined to even provide an explanation for it, and I think that the lower courts did a good job actually explaining why they have no legal ground to block Biden's order here. Now, 2 days after the Biden administration began accepting online applications for the debt relief program, this Wisconsin organization asked the Supreme Court to halt its implementation. The Brown County Taxpayers Association argued in the request for emergency relief that Biden's program would cost taxpayers more than, get a load of this, $1 trillion. Now, student loan debt overall is about 1.7 trillion right now, and federal student loan debt is 1.4 trillion. The idea that this would cost taxpayers $1 trillion is just a straight out lie, especially when you look at how modest the debt relief is by Joe Biden. But let me continue. And that it circumvents Congress, which controls federal spending. So their whole argument is it's unacceptable that this was done through executive action. It should be Congress. And I love when they say that because they know that it ain't nothing getting through Congress. They know it. Okay, and that's why we have to rely on executive action, which has flaws, okay? And I'll get to those flaws in a moment. Now, here's their argument. They argued the blow to the United States Treasury and taxpayers will be staggering, perhaps costing more than $1 trillion. If this program goes forward as planned on Sunday, then the president will unilaterally spend roughly 4% of the nation's GDP, gross domestic product, the emergency application said, which is also ridiculous, and I'll explain why in a moment. Now, here's what's concerning about their tactic, and I'm glad that it didn't work, but I was concerned that they did this emergency application that was addressed specifically to Amy Coney Barrett, because Amy Coney Barrett is not a friend to students who are struggling with student loan debt. And she's very much, yes, a conservative justice, but also a pro-corporate justice. So when it comes to crushing ordinary people, economically speaking, she's got no issue with that. So I don't know what motivated her to basically reject the call to block Biden's executive action, but I'm glad she did it. With that said, I think it's important to go back to what a federal court had ruled on this issue, because even though that federal judge had blocked this effort and said, no, we're gonna allow Biden to implement this executive order, he specifically said, since it's an executive order, it is very likely that once Biden is out of office and once a Republican is in office, the Republican can easily reverse it with no problem. So that is something that is possibly coming up. And so while there are certainly major flaws within the Biden administration and the corporate Democratic Party, fact of the matter is a Republican president would have no issue reversing this modest student debt relief. In fact, we've already experienced that under the leadership of Amy DeVos, who was the education secretary during the Trump administration.
Betsy DeVos.
What did I call her?
Amy.
Oh, I'm sorry,
because you've
Betsy.
got Amy Coney Barrett in your mind.
My bad, misspoke.
So guys, you know what that means. Get your checks, okay? So as soon as they allow it, make sure that you apply if you're in those categories. Because if Trump or another Republican comes in, they're gonna say, oh, hell no, you're a regular person. We hate regular people. You're not at all rich. So I'm not gonna give you any money. Trump, on the other hand, gave $2 trillion to the rich. All right, so now there's a couple of super interesting things in this story. Number one, it's always shocking when conservative Supreme Court justices apply the law correctly. So there was like a whoa, she didn't cheat moment here today.
Yeah.
And that's great news, okay? I know it's a super low bar, but these days we'll take it. So why is her position clearly correct? So there's something in law called standing. And so in order to sue someone, you have to have standing. That means if you have no standing, it's the court basically saying, who are you, bro? Why are you here? Okay, why are you the one suing? Okay, you got punched in the face. You have standing because you were the one who was hurt.
You're
right?
aggrieved, yes.
Yeah, you're aggrieved. But if you saw the guy getting punched in the face, who are you, bro? Why are you here? You can't sue, right? So the court has been super clear that you cannot sue the government just because you're a taxpayer. Okay, I'm a taxpayer. I don't like the defense bill. I want them to stop giving money to all the defense contractors. I do that, right? And the court says, who are you, bro? No, you can't sue as a taxpayer, okay? So in this case, here's a group of taxpayers, in fact, it's a group that wants to lower taxes for the rich, saying, hey, we want our money, Lebowski, okay? And this is the Supreme Court going, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, okay, so.
But I want to come back to them in a second.
Okay, so hold that thought, because I think it's kind of important to understand what really motivates them, right? Because understand, this is just debt forgiveness. So it's not like the action of relieving some portion of student loan debt for some of these borrowers. Remember, it's a means-tested program. Doesn't mean that that's gonna raise taxes automatically. However, what they're concerned about, and this is important, the interest that's paid by student loan borrowers is a source of revenue for the federal government. To the tune of $22.4 billion in 2019 alone. And I think there's a fear that as you do away with some of this regressive taxation, and that's the way I like to look at it, then there's gonna be more calls to increase taxes on individuals who are not paying their fair share in taxes, the wealthiest individuals who pay a far smaller percentage of their income to taxes, federal taxes, compared to lower income individuals.
Right, or as the kids would say, this is a mask off moment, okay? They're telling on themselves. So why do you care about this issue? It doesn't have anything to do with taxes. No, this is rich folks saying, I don't, forget taxes. I don't want the average man ever getting a break from the government. Because if they get a break from the government, they might tax me later. So I'm not just interested in taxes because I want to grow the economy. Remember, that's the excuse they use every time. Oh, it isn't to help the rich at all. It's to grow the economy. But wait a minute, this would definitely grow the economy. It puts money back into the economy and it allows it to circulate faster and would actually help create more jobs, et cetera, et cetera. But you're against it anyway. Why are you against it? Because you think if you ever help them, the lower classes, that means you might take from me, the upper class. So in a sense, they kind of told on themselves by filing the lawsuit. Remember, we don't want any average American getting a dime, backed by 6 Republican states. These are conservatives, right-wingers, Republicans saying, we hate the average guy. We want to make sure that we preserve all the money for tax cuts for the rich.
Now, I want to juxtapose their insane overreaction to a little bit of debt relief for student loan borrowers here in the United States to their complete lack of reaction to what just broke in the news today. US lawmakers discussed passing a this is an additional $50 billion aid package for Ukraine by the end of January. That was reported by NBC today. I bring that up not to engage in a debate about whether or not we should help Ukraine, but more importantly, to discuss how whenever it comes to military aid, whenever it comes to enriching defense contractors and weapons manufacturers, there's never a debate, there's never an emergency call to the United States Supreme Court to block it. No, none of that. And there's barely even a debate within Congress on that issue, which I find just fascinating. Whenever it comes to helping our fellow Americans, providing a little bit of relief so they can go about their lives, start families, get married, possibly even buy a home. Unacceptable, we can't have it. We gotta fight it in the courts. The federal courts reject our efforts. We gotta take it all the way to the Supreme Court. They get real fired up about it. Whenever it comes to our fellow Americans, it's a big middle finger. When it comes to lining the pockets of defense contractors, no problem.
So what Anna's saying is indisputable. Look at the numbers, right? 22 billion in interest, but wait a minute, we're just giving away 50 billion. That's more than 2 years of interest. So why are you not concerned about that? Again, we're perfectly unbiased in this case because I'm on Ukraine's side. I want us to help Ukraine. I think the imperialism of Russia is disastrous, right? But I don't know that that's the right number, and I definitely know that tons of money is getting funneled to defense contractors that isn't going to Ukraine, and it's a total pork barrel project. But when it goes through corporations, nobody ever gets sued. Oh, you're sending it to my friends at Raytheon and Northrop Grumman? No way I'm gonna sue you on that. Notice a couple of bills that Biden passed. Infrastructure bill, the semiconductor bill. Those are two of the largest bills that he passed. The money goes straight to corporations and maybe it trickles down on you. And it probably does in the infrastructure bill, and the semiconductor bill has some upsides. But overall, when it goes to corporations, no one ever gets sued. Everybody's like, hey, okay, give it to the top, okay? Corporate Democrats agree, Republicans agree, the courts agree, all the right-wing groups agree, right? Whenever it goes directly to the average American, oh, the student debt relief, that's going straight to Jane and John Doe. Oh, I hate it, sue it, kill it, destroy it.
Yep.
That's who the right wing is in this country. They hate the average guy. And that's why, as Anna has said a million times, that's why they do the culture wars. To pretend to be on your side. Oh, don't you hate trans people like we do? Yeah, okay. Rob the bank. You think all coast is clear, they're distracted. Rob the bank, rob the bank. That's what Fox News is. That's what the Republican Party is. Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.